I used to leave meetings.
You want me to admit everyone?
Yep. Yep. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to almost end of December board meeting. So thanks for being here with us tonight. I know there's a lot going on this week, so appreciate you being here to participate with us. And we will do a quick rundown of our agenda. Just a reminder, our agendas are always posted out on the board docs site. So if you ever need to follow along, please visit out there. And we are always posting, we are always recording these meetings. And then we're also making sure to post those on the board site as well, with the help of Stephen, who works his magic to create those videos for us. So just a reminder about that. And we will run down our agenda for tonight. So we are calling things to order here, 6:36 p.m. And we will, of course, have a few minutes here for public comments. We'll go back and look at November 8th board meeting minutes. And make sure we can approve those tonight. And then we will hear from Tree with her updated report. So the latest and greatest coming this afternoon for us. So we will look at that. And is there a vote? Let me clarify. There is a vote I
Yes,
noted
yes.
associated with that?
Possibly.
Possibly
Yeah.
2 votes. Okay, so I'm
Kevin's going to give us input on those second
gonna
votes,
keep those highlighted.
because I'm sure he read the.
Perfect, perfect. All right, and then we'll do a finance update, and I will update on PTO on behalf of Sarah. I know everyone's probably having fun at the Spirit Night tonight, so she asked me to pass along some updates, which I can share with everybody. And then we're going to have our committee updates, see how we're doing on all of our goals for the year, various areas of progress, and we have another discussion as well with regards to our board officers and potential vote associated with that as well. So sound good?
Sounds great.
Everybody
Good.
good?
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we will open up for any public comments. If you have a public comment and you would like to share something, you could do so according to our guidelines, which gives you up to 3 minutes to share. So if you have something to share, please note that in the chat and we will call upon you to share. Waiting for public comment. Waiting patiently for anyone who might want to comment.
Excellent wait time, Kristen.
That's right.
Build in a little bathroom break.
Yeah.
Just scarf down the rest
Wait
of the
time
day.
is very important.
Okay, going once, going twice. All right, so we have moved on from our public comment period. Thank you. So we're going to head over to approve our November 8th board meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody got a chance to take a look at those. We had a lot of discussion last meeting. Just want to make sure I captured everything
Yeah, that was good.
appropriately on that front. So any comments or questions about what happened on November 8th?
Well, I viewed them and I didn't see anything to add or change.
Okay.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve the November 8th board minutes as written.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Kevin.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any questions? All in favor?
I
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Nope. All right, motion carries.
Okay.
All right, we're just slow tonight.
Very good. Okay, thank you so much. And we will turn it over to Patrice.
Okay, so it's always a little odd and there's real people in the room, but I want to talk to the audience here too. So want to go over just the board notes. If you see that I'm sending you a lot of details from the building meetings, as I've done the last couple of meetings, just to make sure that we're all caught up as we're wrapping up our entire project. Hopefully by the end of January, might be extended, we don't know. First thing on the list is you saw regarding the road cut permit that they have to get from Orange County. That's the road cut that they have to make at Fuller's Cross because they have to tie in the last piece of piping for the sewer into that line, which is right underneath the road. And so that permit went from the city, then it went to the county. And so we were hoping to hear from that like November 9th, but unfortunately we still have not gotten any response. I've reached out to Mike Rumor a couple times. I have not called him yet, but I certainly can try to call him. But again, Mike Rumor is with the city and I don't know if that's going to help us. So we are just on hold right now, waiting, and hopefully then on Thursday, I will hear a little bit more at our building meeting and we'll find out if they've been able to get any movement at the county level.
So
Any
the
questions about
permit's
that?
in Z Development's name.
Yes,
So where's Bob and all this, right at this point?
his contacts, her name is Julie. She has been calling them and, you know, handling all the reviews that have come in. The last thing that happened right before Thanksgiving is there was some reviews. They provided, Z Development provided the updates on the reviews. Don't even remember. I don't think it
So
was
the
really
county has
much.
been engaged.
Yeah,
at
so
least.
this is what was strange. They were engaged. And then all of a sudden, the next piece happened where they said, oh, where is your permit number?
Mhm.
Meaning that they thought it was the full permit sat with the county.
Mhm.
And so they went back to them and they said, no, this county is held by the city. And they said, okay, we need that permit number added.
Mhm.
We did that right after Thanksgiving, I believe, Stacy,
Yeah.
is when there was a little bit of delay, but they did that. And now we're still sitting. And I've said to them, has that been clearly communicated to the county that all they were asking for is the permit number from the city?
Mhm.
And the review process should be complete, but we
Yeah.
have not gotten any word back.
Do we have somebody we can try to call at the county? Do we need to start
Commissioner.
knocking on doors?
I don't know. I don't know, but I, you know, like I
Assume there's
said,
gotta be some at the county permitting department, somebody we can call.
you know,
find
and
out
Brett,
what's
I
going
don't
on
think it
with
would
stuff, too.
hurt, maybe if nothing else, you can send an email to Bob and copy me and say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
This is now, we were told that the final
Should we
decision
be
the
careful,
county
right?
had was November 9th. Again, this permit's been in since September.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even something that needs
Yeah.
approved, it's just a red
Right.
tape kind of thing.
Any other questions about that? That'd be great if you want to, you know, email them too. Then as we move on, there's just some more information about the whole precast storm structure and the piping that's going to go in. That was funny little thing because we've been holding about 25 to 35,000 once the road is cut. And once the pipe is installed, then the area has to be re-asphalted. And so we have been holding Justin from Building Hope as well, the project manager for us, as well as Chad from W&J Construction have been holding about 25 to 35,000 for that task. The construction company, Mac Construction, came back and told us it was 95,000. So we, Chad went back to them to say this is not acceptable. We did not know, and you may not know this now, Stacy, because Stacy's on our building meeting. We were just told today we couldn't figure out why Chad wasn't answering. Chad went on vacation. So after all the push on Thursday of him saying we've got to get these things done,
Right.
he went on vacation. He's supposed to be back tomorrow. I've reached out to Justin a couple times
What about
today.
Zach?
Well, and that's what I asked Justin to do. I said,
Yeah.
Justin, reach back to Zach. And so
Yeah.
Zach gave us some information.
Right.
So we're hoping in the next couple of days, we're pushing
Find
on.
another vendor.
Yes, on all those fronts, at least to find out. We thought
Yeah.
this was in a big rush to get this done, just like what happened with Thanksgiving.
Right.
We had all of our pieces in place for them to get things done for their estimates they needed. And it didn't happen. So anyway, I do want to call out that Building Hope, our project manager with Building Hope has been excellent.
Yeah.
So Justin has been very, as we all remember, some of us even in the community may remember, and when we built this building, we didn't have as good of an experience with everyone involved, but this project manager has been exceptional. So
Yeah.
that's the good news. So,
Did you ever hear anything back from Jerry? I think you had-
oh,
you
yeah.
had sent that to them.
No, he did. He just said, thank you. He said, you really appreciated I had sent him an email thanking him for Justin.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I never told Justin. Hopefully he shared it with him.
Yeah.
But you sent like a really nice like list of all the things
Yeah.
he's done, so I was really well done.
Yeah.
So like, I hope they
Yeah, he
Yeah.
holds them accountable.
gave
He
Justin
definitely
some
does.
recognition.
Yeah.
for
Doesn't
that,
let
yeah.
things
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah. So then the next thing on the list has to do with the let's see, water intrusion, which we believe that that's going to be taken care of, and that's being handled right now through Universal did the new borings, and so that is coming back. The quote, we may have gotten a quote back today. I'll have to check on that, but we feel like that's all going to be within the numbers that we were expecting, even though it does mean that we have to do more dewatering, because apparently there is still watering that is seeping up underneath the ground where they thought all the dewatering had already happened. So there is some more trenching that they have to do to add to that structure. And then the next thing was the fence. We've gotten that bid, so we feel pretty good about that, where that number is coming in, because we've made a decision to go ahead and fence the entire property, basically. So finally, the last piece has to do with the power. And so we are going forward with an opportunity to tie into our panel that is on right outside in this main building. We have an electrical room that opens up to the outside, and they're going to bore into that room in order to be able to just add a part of a panel, I guess a circuit, to our existing panel that we'll be able to use for electricity on the property, so that we can get the irrigation, so we can get the sod before the sod goes into hibernation. So all these things take time, and unfortunately, with people taking more vacations, things are lagging. I think we all thought January at the very latest, and now I know Stacy, you're shaking your head. Yeah, I'm thinking it might be February. And the sod, if we do get some cold nights, significantly cold. Now, some people are saying we don't get very many times where we have. I think they said it has to be 3 or 4 days of consistent temperatures below mid 40s. So I don't think that's totally going to happen. If it does, then the sod will have to be delayed as well. Anyway, but it is going to happen. So I'm going to be sure. So I'm so excited about it. It's been a lot to go through, but it is going to happen. Any questions about any of that?
They can still come in on this side though, without having to come in through where the Fuller Cross side is to continue to work on the property. Without that, they just can't finish the asphalt all to the
Right.
section. So
Right.
they can still continue the work
Right.
because they can come in through this part.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
They gotta they gotta put the drain.
They gotta put
stuff
the
in
drain
because
in
they
there,
get
yes.
Dewatering
Yes.
first.
Yes.
We've got like holdups on both ends,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Right.
The drive line.
Right. But I think until they do my understanding, even with the additional drain pipes, under drain pipes, I believe that's only like a 2-day job.
Right.
I mean,
There
they
was a
said it was
cost to
pretty
that,
fast.
Like 15 or 20
Right.
grand. that you said.
Yes.
That's, but we agreed to that. and that's
Yes,
gonna
and
just
that
move
we feel
forward.
pretty solid. I have to double check that we had a final quote on that, but I will double check on that. Any other questions? Okay, so moving on, as I told you, as we finish up this project, we always knew that we would have a contingency amount of money to use for other projects. We have tapped in, as I shared before, into some of that contingency to complete some of the renovations that we needed at the high school. if you remember, we were having supply chain problems with flooring, as well as being able just to get contractors out there. So we kind of took that off W&J. And again, Justin has been really helpful for that. And we ended up saving a significant amount of money, and we got people in, and they've done a great job. They finished the down floor. I'm not sure if they've gotten all the classrooms done on the first floor, but we are expecting them to be completed by the end of the winter break. And Jared may tell me a little bit more, but so that's good. We also have gone forward with the boardwalk that will be outside here on the conservation easement area. We'll have about 2,000 square feet of boardwalk, as well as 2 separate platforms for students to be able to sit. Be a beautiful railing going all the way around, so students cannot just jump off the boardwalk and stay on the boardwalk, as well as the adults. So we have that we're expecting that will be installed in the spring, late spring. Then we have the other items that are still a part of the wish list. This particular amount of money that I sent you does incorporate this exorbitant amount of money for the asphalt on the cut area for Fuller's Cross.
Okay.
So if we get a more reasonable bid, we will then therefore have more money in the contingency. But as we're getting closer and closer, we're managing this. And so there are some items that we haven't, we're not making any moves on yet because we're waiting for everything to come in before they're finalized. But I know Brett had asked me to bring this to the board, so for input for you guys. So look it over and let
So
me
you
know what
said
you're
that
thinking.
this was the 206,000, that includes already the 90,000 for the open cut?
Yes.
So if that comes down, this would add
Increase by that
Yeah.
amount.
it'll be not
So-
increasing.
From a priorities perspective, you want to just talk us through what you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the things you want to see done? I mean, we've got flooring in the boardwalk done. Is that different than that's the same as the conservation walkway?
The boardwalk is it 2 places?
You have conservation walkway and then IMO elevated boardwalk.
Oh, yes.
That's the same.
Yeah, they're the same. Sorry. Yep. So those are already completed. Yes, in green, they're completed. The areas of priorities that are in red are what we consider the highest priorities to get done. The science labs over at IMHS. And then the next priority, I would say, is, and Kathy and Jared have agreed, is the shades and the bleachers here on IMO campus. What we're hoping to do is get shades and bleacher for the basketball court on each side, as well as for the soccer field. We may only get one side. It just depends on where the bids come in.
You'd want bleachers for both basketball and soccer? as
Yeah,
part
we
of that?
can. Yeah. If for the soccer, maybe it's just one side,
That makes sense.
or at least
And a
shade.
bench on the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I wanted to I suggested we just bring this here, just I wanted you guys to see what was on the priority list,
Yeah.
but also have an opportunity. Is there anything that we're thinking of that would be, ideas to add to this list, or questions about what they want to go do? I mean, we executed the bond financing, got this sum of money. We have a certain period of time to use the money, but feels like we're better off spending the money on the priorities now while we have it versus letting it sit and we're paying interest on it. So
Right.
Yeah.
we might as well put it to use. So just wanted to get the board's.
That we can't invest it,
perspective on
as we know.
Yeah, we buy crypto with it.
We might be able to, because we wouldn't make much.
Yes,
We stay under the
as
threshold.
Phil wrote down, a lot of details on how much money you can make, anyway.
Do you feel good about the cost estimates, that they're pretty,
Yeah,
there's no surprises or anything?
the electric for the science has come in at about 35,000, I think it is. And we do believe that the plumbing will come in lower than that, so we still feel like the 50,000 is, I'm sorry, where's the electric? Yeah, the 50,000 should be pretty good. And then we're also getting Jared is working on the estimate we got for lab furniture right now. But we feel pretty good about the estimates.
So those things would be the science lab, the AV for the, not for the cafeteria. What's room 211?
Yeah, and the cafeteria, that's not as high as the science labs. So the science labs would be the priority,
Yeah.
and then the cafeteria and the AV.
What's 211?
That's the other science
The other
lab.
science, okay. And all of that comes out to the 206, which is right at what we have. like
Right.
Mhm.
Did you ever get, maybe I asked you this earlier, did you ever get a quote or a ballpark on what the lighting would be for soccer fields over there?
No, we never got an actual quote. That's been
We have any sort of idea?
no,
Yes.
I think when
Yeah,
I've reached out
Tens
to
of thousands, hundreds
Justin,
of thousands.
I think when I reached out to Justin before, he's told me that, we probably could get, something for 10 to 15,000.
Oh,
You know.
really?
That
Yeah,
seems
not,
cheap.
That seems very cheap.
well,
$90,000
but,
just to cut the road. and
Yeah.
fill it
right,
again.
I mean-
but that is saying that we're gonna be able
Have
to
to have-
use the power that we're
Right,
bringing in.
Right.
Yeah,
And
It's
that's
just the
the if. So we
installation. of
haven't
the
really gotten
poles.
anybody,
yeah.
to tell us that, because that's one of the things I'm hoping. The way that they described it is that it's more than enough power. If they can do this.
For irrigation and lighting,
Yes. Well, no,
that's okay.
Yeah,
More than
we
enough power,
haven't-
we
we
need
haven't
irrigation.
right. We haven't gotten,
Lighting would be a tipping
Electrical,
point to say,
right.
hey, maybe we need more electricity there than, or power
Right.
than we currently got.
or adding something. And again, the one thing I didn't share, but I did put it in the notes that we also are waiting to hear from City of Ocoee, is to make sure that because these two properties are not actually tied together, they
Mm.
are and they aren't, that we want to make
Mm,
sure that we don't have to
Yeah.
have a separate permit to
Mm.
pull power onto that
Yeah.
property. So the idea is we're gonna bore into here, add the circuit, then have the lighting, have the irrigation on the other property. I said this, and I think Chad also said he remembers this too, when we were meeting with the city. The city seems to be a little bit confused as to how they named this property as well, as I think since we own it, they do consider it like our property.
Didn't we have?
It is
some-
our
I
property.
mean, it is our property.
Yeah.
at this point.
Right,
We-
right. It's
we
this,
own it
it's
now,
this
but-
piece of whether or not and how it's platted, and I went
Right.
to Melissa with that
I was gonna say,
earlier.
didn't we have a discussion previously about the platting of these? Because it was two separate parcels.
Yep.
I mean, this property here was a couple parcels at the beginning when we bought it
I
all,
didn't, I
right?
don't think I knew that, yeah.
But we talked about how do we consolidate that
Yeah.
piece into this, so it's one contiguous piece of property, like, I don't know that we ever.
I don't think
did
we ever,
change it.
right, I don't think we ever did it. I know Melissa had talked about it, but it was strange when I remember when we were in this building meeting, I can't remember the term to call it, for all the people from the city planning group, meet with you,
Yeah,
and I was on that meeting. I remember at the time, they kind of were talking about this property as it's one piece property as well.
Well, that would be beneficial for us.
Right, right. So we
Kevin,
just,
So
Do you know
hopefully
anything about
that's
that?
exactly how it.
here's.
Yeah, it's easy to do, and they would probably for it be consolidated. Um, just through a lot combination process. It's usually an administrative thing if there's only two parcels involved. Basically, I mean, it affects things like setbacks. So if you have a line running through the middle of your land, and buildings can't be, improvements can't be a certain distance from the property line, then you have this extra buffer that shouldn't really need to be there.
mm,
So there are some good things about it. Other things like, total impervious surface ratios and floor area ratios and things like that are affected by how much open space you're counting into your property. So if they've given us approval so far,
That's
it
probably
apparently
what.
hasn't been a problem,
Came
Yeah.
across this before is because when
but
we,
it's easier to consolidate.
Mhm.
sorry, Kevin, yeah, when we talked about doing this before, having it as two separate parcels, that if we were to connect them officially, it was gonna make us have to like increase the size of
Size
that
of the
pond or
retention
something like
pond.
that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I don't know.
Because it was gonna
Mhm.
increase the
Yeah.
amount of
Initial
impervious
design, right.
surface, but that may have been
Right.
also when we. were
But that
trying
was
to
the
put-
initial artificial architecture designs for a building. I don't think we're in the same place now that we
Right.
have it because we're gonna have grass.
We also.
We don't have the
adjusted-
concrete over
That
there.
was when all of it was going to the one pond, but now that there's a pond there.
Yeah,
you're
we're,
not
I think we
required
should
for
be
the-
fine.
I never got that.
Yeah.
It was, you don't have to have it in one pond, you just have to have the pond
But
covered.
that is, we did have those conversations.
Yeah, that's
about
what you
that,
were
yeah.
thinking of.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Kevin, should I reach out to Justin with Building Hope to ask him to, because I know that out of all the other things we've been chasing, I think I've lost track of that to really find out, are they going to be okay with being able to pull the line over to the other piece of property? Should I reach out to Justin to ask him to look into what we would need to do to go ahead and combine the two pieces ahead of anything else?
Yeah, let's find out if we need to. I can help with that application too.
I'll reach
Should
out.
be routine from the city's perspective.
Okay, because that's just one of the things I think I've lost track over the last couple of days. So I'll reach back out to him and see if he's heard from Boys Electric. If they found out about permitting. Okay. So I don't know about lighting, but that's the one piece that I did know.
Well, that would open, with 4 of our months of the year being a little dark like it is now, it would
Right.
really open up time slots for
Yeah.
that.
Well, one of the things we talked about was could we utilize that space for other
Mhm.
things too, and
Yep.
like having lighting
City league.
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Mhm.
No.
more accessible.
Yep.
So I just had a general question about the items on the list and how many items are on the list and how many items are IMHS versus IMO? Is there any consideration to that in terms of like the balance of where does the money go, or how is it sort of sorted out?
So in the beginning, I think the concern was wanting to make sure that the building has the things that it needs, because we had to push so many because of the supply chain and because of they were having so many problems with labor.
Yeah.
We took the flooring off.
Right.
We took off the idea of like going back and asking about electricity and plumbing and things like that. So that's how we kind of thought this through, that's something we have to make sure that we have up and running for a high school. That's a reason why, for instance, the cafeteria, AV and IT is still medium. It's
Mhm.
still important. We want to, but that is also something we recognize that maybe later, we can, tackle if we have to.
But do you want to get cost estimates on any of these other things before you make final decisions on? the
Such
rest
as,
of the Fuller's Cross lighting, the
Acoustic.
stairwell acoustics, I guess those are the only two.
Yeah.
Those are completed.
I mean, we've gotten some cost estimates for the food science class, but it's probably even more than 50,000. Like 50,000 is like real basic. That would be again at IMHS.
Mhm.
We've gotten some real basic estimates for the shade and bleachers, but Kathy needs to reach out and get that honed in. And we've been looking at trying to get some estimates for the cafeteria, for the AV, for the audio visual and IT for that. But if you want me to, I can put the Fuller's Cross lighting on that list.
So
I
food
think-
science and IMHS course, those are on the postponed list.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, I think
certainly-
it'd be worthwhile to just know like. if
How
it's-
much the,
if
We're
it's
gonna
really
need to raise that money on
$20,000.
the road anyway.
Okay.
Worth
We already
knowing
know what
if
it is.
it's $100,000 and it's.
It's gonna need to be
Okay.
put in eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
What else at IMO would be on that? I mean, I'm assuming that you and Kathy and you guys have done all of your wish listing, or is there more things that?
I think we would love to see some bathrooms in some of the rooms that are on the first floor. I've reached out to Justin to say how much, because if you may remember, one of the things that we did for 3 rooms that we have here, the art room, the music room, and the business office area that we're using right now,
Yeah.
we never put in bathrooms because we were
Mhm.
trying to save some money.
Yeah.
And so I've asked Justin, just, hey, how much would it cost if we, had just a toilet closet, in
Yeah.
there? He said it should be less than 10,000, depending on where the lines are, depending on, everything else. So that's something that I think is that's using that outdoor bathroom is always kind of problematic,
Yeah.
so that's one of the wish lists. Kathy, I don't know, do you have anything else that you have on the wish list that you can think of?
No, I think the bathrooms was the only thing that wasn't on there, Patrice, of what we've discussed.
It's not often we have a couple $100,000 and figure
I
out what to do
know.
with. Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Any questions from you guys?
Okay. So I will look on the lighting, trying to get that, get more information from boys. I don't know if boys can handle that, but I can ask, for Justin to look at that for us. So then the votes. So Kevin, I don't know if you want to talk about the governance committee and the consolidation recommendation.
Yes, I'm happy to. So we did meet again. We had all had an opportunity to think a little bit more about it. And Patrice provided some additional and specifically having to do with the financial impacts of the consolidation. And I would say that everything with the updated information was just a more fleshed out version of what you all heard before. So minds were changed. I think that it's just more detail leading us into the same direction. So without objection, everyone who was involved in that, Stacy was there as well, I think believes that we can't see a significant downside to consolidating our charters. And so we asked that a letter be prepared to send to the choice coordinator, or I might be getting the name of that title wrong, but the appropriate person at Orange County Schools to request the consideration of the consolidation of our charter. And that would go before the or at some later date. But as you all recall, they wanted that by January, suggested that having January would allow that to pause for the upcoming school year. And so our recommendation is that the board go ahead and act on that now. I do think that if something crazy happened, we would still have time to bail out on our request between now and the school board's action, but we don't foresee that. We think that this is a good idea.
Any questions? I sent you the letter,
Yeah.
that Melissa had suggested.
So I'm just capturing that we're requesting this letter be sent.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
That's
I
right.
agree.
No.
We need to,
Or is there a vote?
we need to
Vote.
have a motion and a vote on
Okay,
the decision to consolidate the charters, and then we can
Okay.
execute the letter and have it go to
okay.
the school choice folks right away.
I mean, in our discussion, there was no additional information that puts up any red flags. If anything, it's only really looking at positive situations financially for us to consolidate. And it just streamlines everything we have moving forward, from every time we adjust something to every time there's an additional requirement from the county. That's only one requirement versus the two. So it does streamline things to be a little bit more efficient. And frankly, so things just don't get missed too. You run a risk when
Right.
there's two charters out there that, oh, I did that. Okay, I checked that box.
Right.
And no, I didn't do it for IMHS, or I didn't do it for IMO.
Right.
So I think that is another big plus in this situation as well.
Good call out. And the number that I shared at the board, at the governance meeting, I believe was 72,000 or
Yeah.
77,000, Kevin, that we would have in savings.
Annually.
Mhm.
I think 77 is familiar, but it was in the 70s. And that was just kind of the easily identifiable
Mhm.
hard costs that would be eliminated.
Yeah.
The revenue source that was eliminated was a $1,000, basically the Title I money, I guess, right?
Title II.
Wrong other title, yeah, Title II. So we think that, and we talked about it a little bit, the administrative savings would actually be greater than that in ways that we're not even fully imagining, just because every little task you do twice, it's going to add up. So that easily identified 70,000 savings, but we think it'll be more.
Cool. Kevin, I'd ask if you would help us propose a motion for this one, just to make sure we get it right.
Sure, I'll move that we direct Patrice to execute or have you execute and send the letter to Orange County Schools requesting consolidation of our two charters into the IMO charter.
Kristen,
Hold
you
on.
got that?
To OCPS. Motioning that the board
Request for consolidation.
requests. We're focusing on the letter piece, so requesting to send a letter to OCPS
Mhm.
regarding the consolidation of which one into which one?
Both charters.
High
into-
school into IMO.
Mhm.
Of IMHS charter
That's
into.
right. The surviving charter will be the one that has granted authority to IMO.
Okay, so,
Which has a 15-year
Mhm.
already under its belt.
right,
Which is what even the school choice director said.
Mhm.
right,
Or just
right. So we want to
yeah,
go into
Saves
that one
us from
because
having
it's
to
got
go
all
back
of
on the
that
high school
already
side.
Yeah.
Oh,
set up, yeah. Okay, so Kevin motions that the board requests to send a letter to OCPS regarding the consolidation of the IMHS charter into the IMO charter.
Yeah, there's some language in this letter too. You could probably copy and paste, Chris, where it says consolidate 9 through 12 charter into the K-8 charter to create a single charter contract between IMO and the school board.
Yeah, if you want to just
Serve
pull it out.
Students in grades K through 12 from 2 current campuses.
This is on your board report.
Do you want me to get
It's on the
you-
letter,
I can give you a copy right now. I can print a copy if it's better.
Oh, is this the second doc? Is there another doc? This is the second document
Yeah.
that was sent. Okay, I can't pull up that many windows
And I
right
got you.
now. Thank you.
I suggest that
Craft.
I suggest we could just attach the minutes. And
Oh, yeah.
I move that we send that letter.
Okay, that letter I'm looking at right now, okay.
From the lawyer. That letter.
The attached letter,
Very
We
lawyer.
love you.
the attached letter,
The one that was circulated, right?
included in the packet, the agenda packet.
With proper postage.
Now you're asking too much.
Mhm.
Okay, so that motion was made by Kevin and,
I will make a second.
okay,
So we have a motion of a second. Any final questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Good job.
Mhm.
And then the other one that we have outstanding as a vote
Did
is,
you just print that?
yes,
So you're on here?
yeah, I'm actually, I have to go over there and we have
Yeah.
a new printer here.
Says your name on it.
So, yes, it's true. So Kevin, do you want to talk them through the next piece that we need to talk about tonight?
Sure, and I think the next one is the procedure that's required by the rule, and we got a letter from Melissa a couple days ago. Is that the one
Mhm.
Yes,
that is next on our list?
yes.
So we discussed this at the last board meeting, and I think maybe didn't act as much as we could have at that time, but I don't think the instructions from the Arnold Law Firm has changed. The rule has just become an official adopted rule now. At the time, it was still in the process of being codified, but we now have a rule to work with. And the procedure, I think it says we have to adopt a procedure, which you could do in a policy or just as a procedure, requires us to basically explain to the parents when there's a complaint or proceeding under the new Parental Rights Act that they have the opportunity to seek a special magistrate to be appointed by Orange County Schools if they can't resolve the issue at the charter school level. So the things that are required to be in that procedure are all what was in the short paragraph in the board packet.
Yep.
And I looked at this and thought that the language in the board packet, which is very similar to what was in the body of the email that Melissa Arnold sent, is perfectly appropriately adopted as our procedure. The only question I was left with is where do we put this? Do we call it part of our policies or do we call it a, administrative procedure? I don't know if there's a book of things like this that Patrice would suggest. I know that's part of what we
In policy?
looking at and trying to get organized anyway.
Don't we have this already with like reaching out to, first you go to your teacher and then you
Right.
go to the, the
Sure, we
principal.
can
I
make
feel
it
like it,
part of the
I feel like it says that would be like the place
Okay.
for it, because that's where you're coming. If there's an issue and if there's something that's not being
Right.
taken care of, well, then after you've reached out to the principal and that's not resolved, then we go to OCPS, right? So.
But I think this is where my question, because this is very specific to the parental rights bill, which
Mhm.
Right.
is different than just, hey, I have
Have
a
a
problem
problem.
with something happening in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Right.
So one is, this says we have 7 days to respond. And then do we have another 7 days to resolve the dispute, or is it within that initial 7 days? So we have 7 days in total to respond and resolve it before they go to the county and ask for a special magistrate. So that's one question I have. And then the other question is, should we have a specific channel to field requests related to the parental rights bill separate from other? Right now, I think our guidance that you gave,
General stuff.
Mhm.
Patrice, was send an email to Kathy and Jared, and I'd hate for an email to get lost in
And
somebody's inbox for 7 days and, then trigger
Somebody's
some.
gone that
Do we have
week,
to, that way
right?
we can track, hey, at least these are all the ones that have specifically come in for, whether it's setting up a
Maybe
specific
set up a
mailbox
specific
or
address
for that.
for it, because it's a specific issue, right?
Because I don't think we want to confuse the fact that we have 7 days to respond to any
Right,
complaint.
right,
I
right.
don't
Right.
think there's any question we're gonna respond to anything within not respond to anything within
Right.
7 days, but this one seems like it's got more legal power behind it than just, I have a general issue with what's happening or a question in my classroom. And
right.
so I don't want to, do we have concerns about mixing the two together?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How do we handle those requests that come
I do.
freedom of information? 'Cause don't we have like the freedom of information requirements when people request stuff that's not available, that we have to make available to them?
Oh, you mean public records
Yes,
request?
that's
Yeah,
sunshine
that's a-
law.
yes,
Like,
that's
there's
a-
specifics to that
Like, do
too.
we,
Yeah.
do we have a specific way that they have to request that? Would it make more sense to?
No, that is every request. We actually just had one recently. We haven't had one in about a year or two, but usually they're really specific for what they're looking for. And I always touch base with most of the time, unless it's a request I've seen before, I'll touch base with Melissa and she'll give us the guidance. We have like a template that we use
Is it
for
just, I mean,
responding.
do you get those just through a normal email, like? to
Yeah,
the
but
schools or-
to Brett's point, the only thing I would be concerned about is that I don't think it's incumbent upon the person, like a parent,
Right,
to have to know that there's a special email that they have to send it
Right.
to. I don't know, Kevin, if you want to address it, because I'm thinking about the public records request.
Yeah.
One of the things we have to really make sure that all of our staff who look at our office, because we have an office email,
Mhm.
that we make sure they understand if they see something like this that comes across their emails in the office email box, that they make sure that they, let the principals know right away,
Mhm.
because that can get lost and we,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Kevin.
I think public records are kind of a different animal, and they're more sensitive and complicated, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. This particular policy that we have to adopt, or procedure that we have to adopt, is a procedure on how we notify parents of what their rights are. So if we receive a complaint having to do with the parental rights bill, then this procedure kicks in and we must provide them with notice of these procedures. So specifically, if a parent comes in seeking resolution of a student health, safety, or welfare complaint under that new section, then we will provide them with the information about what their deadlines are and how to request a special magistrate. And the information we must provide them isn't really all that extensive under this particular procedure. We have to, our procedure must notify parents of, we must have a procedure to notify the parents of their ability to seek relief from the school principal or designee. So, or, we get one of these complaints, we're going to tell them that they can get relief from the principal or the principal's designee. We're going to make sure that they are told that if they remain aggrieved after getting the response from the principal or designee, they can go to the school district. And we have to make sure that this procedure tells parents what the time limits are. And it is 7 days from receiving the complaint, Brett, to answer that question, that we have to have that first level response from the principal or designee. And it's 30 days from getting shipped to the school district that they have to make their response. If the school district doesn't act, then the parent can actually go to the State Department of Ed, which I don't think OCPS would allow to happen. I think we're responsive to these.
Mhm.
So our procedure that we're adopting today is the procedure that we're going to use to make sure we tell parents they have one of these complaints, that they can go to the principal for help. If they don't like what they hear, they can go to the school board for help, and that those two things have to happen in 7 days and 30 days respectively. So I think our procedure can be have a piece of paper with that, those things written on it, which is the same thing that was in the packet. And if we get one of these complaints, hand it to the parent. That's the procedure. Hand that information to the parent.
Would we just post that on our website too, like somewhere related to to your point, we have
Yeah,
that communication, but
already.
maybe there's a link on there that takes them to a separate page that says about
Or parent rights.
or parents' rights questions,
Mhm.
and then we can direct them, have that policy stated there, it says email
Yeah.
here. If, the 7
Yeah.
days, 30 days, and
Yeah.
then beyond that.
We need to make sure it's posted.
I just
And I
don't
think
kind of legal.
we just have a small stack of those. Yeah, Brett, I think that's very important. I think we have a small stack of these papers in the principal's office so that when the identifies that this parental rights bill has been implicated by a particular complaint,
Yeah.
you hand it to the parent. I do think that there's a space for this to be on the website, but it's critical that parents aren't confused. They shouldn't believe that every academic complaint or every routine
Right.
dispute relating to a disciplinary matter
Mhm.
triggers this. I mean,
Yeah.
we run into this with Title IX as well. We've had that recently where a complaint that really isn't a Title IX complaint, people might think that they get to use that procedure, or a complaint that's not really a parental rights complaint, they might think they get to use that procedure. So I wouldn't make these two front and center. I think the
Yeah, that-
day-to-day solution procedures are
Right.
not going to be the
People either. I just know my experience with things like private GDPR and things that we've done for privacy, when people request, companies to remove their information due to certain laws, we need to direct them a specific way, because if we don't respond to them, then there's different legal action that can be taken against us. This just seems like one of those hot button topics that could, I just don't want to
Absolutely.
open us to the exposure, but I think Jared, you got your hand up. You have a question? You want to comment?
Yeah, it was kind of both. So my first question was, does OCPS have some kind of place where we can direct people? So like if as a principal, we've tried to go through the resolution and we're directing them to OCPS, like I would want clarity on who I'm directing them to. Is it just OCPS in general, right? Figure out who you need to talk to. That's more just kind of a clarifying point that I think Kathy and I will need, just to make sure that we know who we're redirecting these parents to. And the second piece of that was, do we think it would be wise to kind of clarify what constitutes a request or concern that falls under this rule, as opposed to kind of what we've said, the general academic, general discipline concerns? Because I think parents might still get confused. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to necessarily have to spend a lot of time kind of scrutinizing emails, making sure that this fits or doesn't fit. I think if we're clear, like here are some of the, I don't know that examples is the term, but maybe just the verbiage from the rule in addition to what our procedure looks like, so parents know this is what would constitute a valid complaint under this parents' rights rules.
And that's where I was thinking, if we had a separate email address that we could direct people to say, if you have a complaint related to this, act, submit it here to this email address. It could still flow both to Kathy and Jared's inboxes, but that way we at least know, hey, it came from this email address. Somebody's now specifically, directed a complaint through this channel for us versus just the other general concerns we would have.
Yeah.
I don't want to complicate it. But
Yeah.
those were the questions and concerns I had, is making sure we can identify these accurately and respond to them in the appropriate time frame. And
Yeah, OCPS has added it as a separate kind of like bullet under their parent rights in OCPS in general, but they do specifically call out the Bill of Rights portion and have the language in there as well as how they will handle those requests according to this law. But it's grouped in with like how to access your school report card, attendance requirements, participating in PTO, like
So they have it under a lot of things, but they have
it's
it very
grouped in
called
with,
out for
yes,
parents' rights.
right,
bill.
like
Okay.
specifically. So I think that it can be part of those communication policies that we have already listed, but we do need to just designate that this is a specific different layer to the policies.
yeah, I mean, they've got links here that say,
Yeah.
share your concerns directly with the DOE.
Mhm.
They have a section on the special magistrate, how to
Mhm.
contact your school's principal.
Yep.
Like, they've kind of outlined a parental rights page here regarding this
Yeah.
law.
So I think that's something we should look at trying to just make sure that we have on our website updated and
And I think,
included.
Kevin, to your point, having a stack of paper in the
Mhm.
office with those instructions on it, so that,
Yeah.
we can at least say, hey, we've made these available to people
Right.
online and in the office,
Mhm. And adding it into the policy handbook. I think it needs to be added into the
Right,
handbook for
the
next
parent-
year,
You mean the parent
moving
handbook,
forward, right? Yes,
Right.
the parent handbook, like
Right.
that this is part of the policies for what needs to happen. And I don't know that if we are implementing it now, mid-year, do we need to send out a one-page waiver that needs to be signed and added into their handbook? Like we signed it, and it could be through school
I don't
mint.
think we need a waiver. I don't
You
think we
know?
need to, I think we can just, we can certainly notice
An
it.
acknowledgement
We
of
can
something
notice
that has
it
been
in
added.
Parent Square
Yeah.
that, per the Kathy, maybe you and Jared can put that on your note to have that for January.
Mhm.
Notice that for parents so they know that we do have this policy and where they can access
Mhm.
procedures,
Mhm.
like Kevin said, and have a document that we can just print out
Yeah.
and hand to parents or email to parents. Does that seem to fit, Kevin, what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our goal is not to have parents going to OCPS or the Florida DOE. Our goal is to resolve things at the local level. If we have to use the special magistrate services of OCPS, spending a bunch of money on something that we have less control over. So
Mhm.
certainly we want to have these things resolved. If we do put it in the student handbook, parent handbook, it would seem appropriate to have some preamble language that makes it very clear the limited circumstances to which this applies. It's really not intended to be used for most matters. It's intended to be used for those things. But
It does-
Tallahassee
We're on
made a
the
big,
go to the special magistrate. We're on
Yeah,
the hook for the
yeah.
cost.
Yeah, that's why you do everything to resolve
Yeah.
it.
and that's what this is. I mean, that's all this is the special magistrate program. So if we're having to use the special magistrate program, then we were not successful at the local level. We don't want to be doing this.
Right.
So the procedure that we're going to adopt today is that anytime someone sends a complaint that in the judgment of administration implicates this piece of legislation, then we will notify the parents of this process in a form that's what was in the board packet. But I would suggest that we add to this email address or contact information of the designated person in county schools. That was a good idea. I'm not sure who said it, but the school district, the very same rule that we're talking about today requires the school district to identify their designated person to deal with these charter school referrals, specifically to deal with charter school referrals. So OCPS has either published that or is about to, and I would recommend that our procedure is that we hand parents the information that's in our agenda packet today, but that it be supplemented with the contact information of that OCPS employee.
Do we feel like leaving it up to the judgment of the principals on determining what fits that legislation or not is this the right thing to do? Like,
Well, I can tell you, like, again, I agree with Kevin that, public records requests are a lot more complicated. And in any time, if I have a concern, I always reach out to Melissa.
no, I'm just saying, I think now we're saying that it's up to Jared and Kathy to review these emails. Oh, this one falls in this category. and
I don't
this
think
one
there's
doesn't.
anybody else.
Is it clear? Is the law clear enough to them to know which ones
No,
fall in that bucket or not?
Nope, but if it's not, then that's exactly what they do. They reach out to legal to
Mhm.
get, because believe me, as you may have seen our legal bills lately,
No.
there's been a lot of things because we've had a lot of legislation, and even there's another one that Sean wanted to touch base with me today, and then he couldn't, and he said, look, I don't want to put in an email, I'd just rather call you. So he's going to call me tomorrow at 9 a.m. because there's just so much out there right now.
Mhm.
And we knew, if you remember in the summer, I mentioned to you that they had even said that the rules
yeah.
hadn't even been made. And so there's,
Mhm.
things in the pipeline, but now this is one that has come out of the pipeline and said, "Look, we got to make this happen in January." So,
It won't be the last.
yeah.
So Kevin, I appreciate if you could help us craft a motion to put on the table for this one as well.
Next time he's coming in.
Eloquent. That's why he makes the big bucks. here.
It was the weird chair scared me off.
I'll trade with you.
So my motion would be and is that we adopt a procedure whereby when a parent or advocate brings a complaint that implicates the special magistrate process in the judgment of staff, I think the judgment administration that's what we got.
Why don't you use parental
Then-
ratification bill for that?
That's exactly right. If in the judgment of our administration that was implicated, then the information in our agenda packet will be provided to the complaining parent, together with the contact information of the Orange County designee for referrals of the complaint. And we'll put that in our policy book next year, but for this year, is what it is, that available when parents bring a complaint.
Requested. Mhm. Available upon request.
And do we think it needs to be available on our website? I don't think the legislation states that, but we can, if it makes it easier.
I think we're gonna have to add it in next year regardless. So you might as well go ahead and,
Well, and I'm thinking that there's so many things coming out now
Yeah.
too, like you said, maybe I'll look at what OC, like you said, what OCPS.
It's gonna need to be its own little
Probably
section.
communication pages anymore, but
Yeah,
Well,
the
we've
parent
redone-
resources,
we've
policies and
redone
procedures, there's no
Our
link in there.
website, so.
Yeah.
And if they put the link and then you want to set up a special email.
Right.
So Kevin motions to adopt a procedure whereby when a parent brings a complaint related to the parental rights bill, that information in the agenda packet will be provided and along with identifying specific contacts at OCPS, and this information would be available upon request and on our website.
I like it.
Okay,
Mhm.
Sounds very legalese.
okay,
Yeah.
Good job.
okay.
Sophisticated.
I only have one screen and I can do all this. I need all my windows. I
know.
feel very hampered with no screens.
You can even function
Okay.
with one screen.
How do I function with one screen? And I wrote all that? Wow.
Okay, so motions
Yep,
on the
noted.
floor. Any questions? We have a second.
I'll second.
Stacy seconds, all in favor, aye. Aye.
Mhm.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion is unanimous.
And that's the end of my report.
All
Thank you,
right.
Tracy.
Hit save. On my notes, hold on. Okay, all right, Philip, you feeling ready for the finance update?
I'm not feeling ready, Kristen. I
Okay.
fell a bit behind on this. The main update I will provide to you guys,
Leave Dave being up.
Right.
I know Dave's away.
that's usually my call on the day of the board meeting.
Yeah.
Details.
I
The
can help
main
you
update
out.
would be, we have initial filing for our bond, went through the last week or so. With support from our business partners who watch out for that and tell us these things are due. Patrice and Dave handled all of that. I don't know, just any other pieces? you
No,
want us to
it
know?
actually went pretty smooth. I mean, we pay for some of this help. Mary Wyatt at the DAC organization helps. And so the little bit of money that they get paid is really helpful because they are more than willing to help us and hold our hands, which is what they're used to doing with charter schools who take on, these kind of responsibilities. So we've handled that pretty well. And the only other thing that I think majorly, which is not too major, but still a point to talk about, is the taxes that we ended up having to eat right now. We haven't fully so this is what happened. Apparently, when we settled on our we had the settlement for the PSA and all the agreements that we signed. There was money that was provided for taxes for this particular school year, and that was credited to us from the EB5 that we bought. That was in foreclosure. So that building was in foreclosure. So that organization gave us a credit for property taxes for this year.
That needs to be paid or that?
So
have
this
been
is,
paid?
this is where it is. So we got a tax bill, an ad valorem tax bill for $105,000. Poor Dave was not a good present for him. I looked at it immediately, said, no way, there's just no way that this can be possible. As we dug into it, there is a portion that we are responsible for, and that is the portion up until January and when the property was purchased, because that was the portion that was prorated and given to us as a credit with the signing of all those documents we signed. So that's
did we
about
just not know to
35,000.
separate that money out?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so not to confuse people, because I know we have public here. So basically, we were responsible for this entire year of tax bill at the contract that was credited to us. The remaining amount of the 100,000 is actually going to be canceled.
Yeah.
So that's very, because I knew we don't pay those kind of property taxes. So Melissa is working with her team to work with the county, because she says it's a very unusual law. And so the property, tax department, they don't really understand it, but she said it's very simple. She does this all the time. So they need to cancel the rest of the bill. However, the 35,000, and she, told us later in retrospect, because I said it would have been helpful had somebody called that out to us, so we would have gone, everyone together, oh, we need to really hold some money aside as we're budgeting. So she agrees, and so they're working on some ways in which that they can capture that. The good news is with this 35,000, at the same week, I also found out that there is an additional grant, federal money, that our CASA program. And Hilda and Kiana came rushing in, telling us about this money that we have an opportunity to apply for, about $59,000. I went, Dave, we're good.
Watch that.
I
one.
know,
That was-
I
think we have
know.
an idea where that money's gonna come from.
Yeah, that's where it is coming from. So I can't say enough about Hilda and Kiana for
Mm.
catching this as an opportunity. So I worked with them and we got that. It was a really simple one. It's all part of this federal money that's out there right now.
Mhm.
And they are providing the money to childcare centers and we applied and we, should be approved. We haven't been approved yet, but this one, Philip, they're not even doing that much. They're just putting the money in our account. Now, we, of
Nice.
course, are making sure that we document how we will be able to credit. And this is similar to the PPP loan, but we just have to make sure that our dates don't coincide with the PPP loan. So the
Okay.
PPP loan that we received, that was only really for those few months in 2020. So
Mhm.
this will be, we can still take credits for employee salary as
Okay.
late as even now. And so this is just a way the federal government's trying to help daycare and childcare centers. So,
Cool.
so anyway, so that was a good and bad side of the finance. Anything else
Okay.
I
don't
can
know
think of?
anything.
I think we're in pretty good
think
shape
that's-
other than that.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So I will do the PTO update on behalf of Sarah tonight. She sent me a wonderful summary email, so I can share some of that with everybody. She does say that there will be a comprehensive calendar of events coming
Mm.
for January through May when we
Okay.
get back to school.
Wow.
So our goal is to help parents know what is coming in advance and reduce the need for notifications. So at the start of the month, we will share the monthly calendar of events at a glance.
Mhm.
So a few things coming up: Uno tournament, family game night on
Mhm.
January 19th at IMHS. Sounds like some great things there. Some suggested donation of $5 to enter the tournament. IMO volleyball team photo in the West Orange Observer. There's a photo contest. There's a prize, so we should vote for them. And she has a lovely summary of just, as she closes out the year, and the PTO has done some amazing work
Yeah,
this year, I
yeah,
think.
right.
Yeah.
I will echo what she's saying here,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
that they've done some great work, and look what the PTO was able to accomplish. So Papa John's Nifty 50 cards for all the teachers, purchased 32 pianos for the music class,
Mm.
raised 13,000 for athletics
Mhm.
with the walkathon.
Mhm.
Purchase tools and equipment for our trade programs,
Mm.
a teacher grant of $100 per teacher, and TA grants $50 for each TA. Teacher birthday gifts and cards. Able to support 57 people going to Fall Fest with donations. Many different types of donations being made to the school lunch program, water, popsicles, yogurts, oranges, etc. And helped reestablish old traditions, build our community, and events that had not been able to occur during the pandemic. So here to that. They
Yeah,
have been
great.
wow
Great.
on like
Yeah.
old chili cook-off wasn't even listed. That was
Yeah.
like, combined with a book fair. Like, well, so total props. to the
Totally
PTO. I
agree.
think they've been doing a great job. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say enough about the job Sarah and team are doing. This is
Yeah.
fantastic, amazing.
full on bringing it back.
Yeah.
So to read all that out and from her update. So then at this point, we can move on to committee updates. I know we have a few different committees going on. We have governance, we have hiring committee, we have ad hoc event committee, we have recruiting, which is kind of a committee for the board. So, and then we have a possible additional discussion from you, Brett, right? In
Yep.
terms of officers. So I have that on your update. So anything on the committees? What do you want to say about our?
I think
committees?
Kevin covered the governance
Governance.
items
You
during
got the
the
governance.
Patrice's update, so
Mhm.
those are probably the pressing ones.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll have our
Anything
hiring
else?
committee discussion.
Thank you.
closed. Okay, you're good, Kevin? Okay.
Let's say for the, or what was the ad
Ad
hoc?
hoc
ad hoc
event.
events.
Ad hoc events.
It's fine. I have a list of names and connected with everyone. Right after our last board meeting, need to send out the doodle to get the first meeting going, and Thanksgiving disrupted that with work and all, so
Yeah.
expect that this week.
Still bringing back the gala.
Or something like it.
Kristen's very quick call, or something like that. But something else. A good listener.
The gal.
I
PTSD.
said with Kristen before, look, you get to be on it, you could come and just say, someone needs to do that, and then next month you
Kristen's
get to
like,
come
I
back and say, did someone do that? Someone needs to do that, it's not me. So, yeah.
Delegate.
Meeting forthcoming, okay.
Mhm.
We mentioned the hiring committee will meet later this evening. And just a note on recruiting for the board, I know we've been talking about that, we do have some candidates very interested, one of which is here tonight. Hi, Marissa. So with that in mind, just knowing that we probably want to move in the spring towards interviews,
Yeah.
so thinking maybe we want to settle on our candidate list for interviews in February. Maybe look at interviews in March. I mean, the January meeting is happening very soon after we get
Yeah.
back from the holidays.
That'll be tough, right?
So if we have any final conversations or any other
Good.
thoughts to be had there, so we would come to February and say, let's finalize at the February board meeting, who will we interview
Mhm.
Yep.
in March? And that would be either right before or right after spring break.
Or maybe even like set them up after the meeting so that we can start the process even in February, the end of February before March gets too crazy.
Yeah.
right? Like, so.
Yeah, because we would just set those up as separate. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be part of the board meeting, correct? Just
Mhm.
checking,
And then we could
yeah,
put through a
schedules.
vote maybe in the March meeting.
Okay, and maybe do it between those two
Mhm.
meetings. Sounds fine.
That's good.
Any other questions, conversations about that process?
Mm-mm.
Sound like a plan? Okay, so we will confirm interview slate in February
Mhm.
for interviews. Okay. Okay. Any other committee updates, or over to you, Brett?
Okay. I think what I shared with the board and the administration a couple weeks back, just, I've made the kind of personal decision for myself, based on personal needs and professional needs and just based on really some timing of events happening within our organization, that it would make sense for me to kind of step down and pass the baton in terms of the leading of the board from the president's role. And so I would like to, I guess, officially resign from that post as the officer in the officer. I am committed to staying a member of the board and willing to serve in another capacity as an officer as well. I'll let the board make a decision on that, but I think with the things we've accomplished over the last 3+ years, getting through the building process, coming out of the pandemic, getting through the big decisions we made to change the direction of the school, getting our building plans finalized, going through the bond financing, getting the high school principal in place. The last step of this was to then kind of close out Patrice's tenure with the organization and get a decision around the executive director role. I would be remiss to kind of lead that decision making and then make a decision to step down at the end of the school year. I'd like to kind of let somebody else take the lead to work with the administration on that decision, so that when we do make that decision, they're the ones that can work with them kind of going forward. And wouldn't want somebody to take a new job or us to set up, the current administration to, have a set of expectations just to change them at the end of the year. So felt like now would be an appropriate time to do that. So that's where I'm at. So I'd put on the table for us tonight to just have a discussion about, others interested in stepping up and taking the board president. And then, like I said, I'd certainly willing to serve in another capacity. Yes. Somebody with some educational leadership experience would be an ideal candidate for that role.
Per se. Well, I think that we are all very appreciative of your leadership over the last 3 years. I mean,
Absolutely.
you mentioned a few things in there, but the amount of hours and time that has gone into this board in the last 3 years has been quite intensive, and we're coming out of it now, and it is looking in a greener pastures, which is nice, but it was only because of your leadership through that process to keep us honed in on our goals and our mission and what that really was to just keep us focused. So I think for the board, we are super appreciative of your leadership
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Appreciate it.
And I just want to say, I can tell this makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I hate it too.
Still gonna do it.
But I do
Yeah.
want you to know, I get emotional, but
Yeah.
really, I just, you know, Stacy said it well, but
Yeah.
really couldn't have done it. Your leadership and being just that true, you know, compass has just been so invaluable. And I really have appreciated it a lot.
It's, I've enjoyed it. It was, you know, so like I said, I'm not leaving the board. I certainly want to steer, continue to serve with you guys and see us continue to move on the mission. I just think now's a good time to hand those duties off, and I'm willing to support whoever wants to take that role as best as I possibly can.
Once willing, you know.
Willing, yeah.
1, 2, 3, not it.
I am willing to take on the position, the board so deems, to step into big shoes to fill, but have a great support staff with Patrice and Kathy and Jared in place. So hopefully they'll guide me through the process as well.
Awesome.
We have to vote on that. So.
Okay, and then that means that Stacy is currently our vice president, so she is considering stepping up into president.
Mhm.
So we then need to consider that there's now an opening in the vice president if that was to occur.
Mhm.
So in that case, I might suggest that Brett Casey.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to do that. Like
might
I said,
be,
I'm willing to do that. I want to, you know, be a
Flip-flop.
partner to Stacy
Yeah.
and help continue to support him in these major decisions. But also, if there's others on the board that have a desire to step into that role, like, you know, I don't want to take that off the table.
Phil, Kevin, AJ, I'm
Kevin,
looking like
imagine.
Kevin.
Kevin's got.
Kevin
a
went
bad
off
internet-
camera for this.
Kevin
part,
got a
I'll
bad
show you.
internet.
Yeah, right.
But no, I'm certainly willing to do that
Mhm.
and be that, you know, be that support for the rest of the board as well. So if we want to just keep it as simple as flipping seats, I think that's.
Yeah, I'd make the comment, but I think the flipping seats now is actually a great transition. It keeps you very close to Stacy
Yeah.
for supporting in the transition
Yeah.
piece.
Yep.
And then we can have a more robust conversation when we come back and, you know, we get to June where officially we re-elect our officers every month or every year.
Yep.
And that would be a good time to then have that more detailed. Do we want to bring some of our longer term board members who've been around now for getting up there, but haven't been in an officer role, you know, well, that's having our AJ into one of the other officer roles,
Mhm.
or something in that space. That'd be my recommendation. I'm quite happy in treasurer role and not too interested in stepping out of it. So.
How you feeling, AJ?
I mean, makes complete sense, and you know, thank you to Brett for, I mean, your style is first rate, and I know Stacy has complimented well, and I think it'll be, I mean, we're very lucky from my perspective to be able to have this right here where you've done what you've done and Stacy has supported, and now she's
Yep.
clearly more than capable
I think she's got the
of doing that.
hands down the right skills and the
Oh,
right
yeah.
frame of mind to
For
help
sure.
us make the next round of, you know, decisions or, you know, or help lead that vision. So
Totally agree.
more her wheelhouse for the rest of these things we need to do than mine. So I'm happy to be that support at this time. So, I mean, we put a motion on the floor. If one of you guys want to make a motion to.
I can make a motion.
Well,
right.
first, any comments from Kevin?
Oh yeah, Kevin, sorry.
No, I think it's a good idea to have Brett around as a vice. And I can't imagine a better member of our board to assume that role than Stacy. I was hoping that was her talking. I heard a voice saying that they were willing to do it. Although I think anybody would do great. But yes, I would be, if no one's done so yet, happy to make a motion to accept Brett's resignation, installs Stacy as the president of the board and Brett is the vice president of the board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I-
Alright.
Aye.
All right, motion
Motion.
carries. Thank you,
Right,
guys.
no, and thank you because.
Sounds bad when we say resignation. I'm like.
The lights just went off, so it's like perfect timing.
Like, and really, again, I just want to say for, even the public that's on here, I know that a lot of you have already heard this said, but there was a reason why when we went through accreditation that the board was called out for its excellence. So in both the Cognia and the Montessori accreditation, they called out our board. We are very fortunate to have all of you in support of what we're doing. So
We talk a good
thank you.
game.
Yeah, you do more than talk. You really are good. So, thank you. And Philip, yeah, you got to stay treasurer forever.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we close out? Okay, lots of good work done here at the end of the year. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday for all public online.
As well, happy
Take
holidays.
care.
Holidays, everybody.
Enjoy.
And we are adjourned at 7:55.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you.